Hi, I'm Sheree from the library, and I've got some books that I'm going to talk to you about today because maybe you're going to pick one for your mini book club. So I want to start with some of the most intense, the creepiest. First up is Shattering Glass. This is the story of Simon Glass, the kid that always gets picked on, the kid that has no friends, until the popular kids decide to try to make Simon popular by hanging out with them. And sure enough, it works. The only problem is Simon is a little twisted from all those years of being the kid that got picked on and abused, and he's got some pretty creepy psychological stuff going on in Shattering Glass. This is the Graveyard Book. The Graveyard Book opens with a man with a knife who sneaks into a house and begins to murder the family, the mother, the father, the kid, and he's on his way up to the baby's room with the knife. But when he gets there, the baby's crib is empty because he managed to escape and has crawled down the street and has taken refuge in a graveyard where the ghosts promise that they'll protect him as long as he stays in the graveyard. But as he grows up, he wants to go out into the world. Man with the knife is still out there. This is a Monster Call. Some of you may have seen this movie. This is a story of, what's this kid's name? Connor. Connor's been having terrible nightmares in which a monster shows up and terrible things happen in the nightmare. And he can't figure out why it's happening or why it is haunting him during the day as you read through the book. And it's a fast, quick read with a lot of amazing art in it. You will find out exactly what's going on with Connor. I want to talk about some what we call dystopian books. Those are books that happen in the future, and the future is dark. This is Cinder. You may be able to see that fine red fancy shoe with a metal bone inside the leg, because in the future there are cyborgs among us and they need their mechanics repaired all the time. Cinder is one of those mechanics. She's hated by her stepmother, and when she finally meets the prince and they join forces, you find out what happens when you cross her. This is Life as We Knew It. Life as We Knew It is one of 4. So there's 4 books in the series. This is the first one. You see there's a big moon on it because the moon has moved closer to the earth. And at first, that's just an interesting bit of news. But then people on earth start to realize things are changing. The tides are changing. Tidal waves are happening. As tidal waves happen, earthquakes are happening. Now everyone is desperately worried about how they're going to survive this event when there is so much ash created from fires here on Earth that it now blocks out the sun, and they can't even figure out how they're going to grow food to feed themselves. This book picks up in the second one and the third one, the same event, different people, but this is the one you want to start with, and it'll make you think differently about how you're going to survive. This is Matched. This is one of the best dystopian novels about life and future. Again, it's the first one in a series of 3. And in the future, you are given your perfect match and you are obligated to then partner with them forever. When young people decide that they want to make their own matches and find their own true loves, things are very upsetting to the government. So bad things start to happen. I want to talk about a couple more kind of creepy. These are all by the author Neal Shusterman. First up is Unwind. In the future, no one has to worry about abortion or kids who don't have a great life because they've taken care of that with the unwinding process. So if you are a kid whose parents really can't cope with you, they can submit for you to be unwound. If you are awarded the state, you don't have parents and you're really a drain on the state's wealth, then you can be unwound. Or if you are a religious family who believes that they owe one of their children to the process, you can be unwound. And what unwinding is they literally take you apart bit by bit, piece by piece. There's a very graphic unwinding in this book. The last thing that goes is your mind, so you're aware of your body being taken apart to be used by others. So it's a wonderful gift to humanity. Unfortunately, the 3 kids in this book, and there's one of each of those kinds I mentioned, are not really in favor of being unwound and are desperately trying to escape and find others that are hiding in the country to try to overthrow this terrible process. Shusterman also wrote Scythe, which is again in the future, and there's too many people, but we've solved the problem by deciding that the scythe master will come to you when it's your turn to die to make room for some other people. Now, if you go quietly and you agree to be killed, then your family members all will be spared for 5 years. If you put up any resistance, then they will come for your family first. The scythe master is aging and needs to start training someone to take his place. There is both a girl and a boy apprentice, and of course, they're going to fall in love. And when the ultimate test is given, on it goes. There are sequels to this one as well. So if you love the story, you can keep going. Last but not least, in the Schusterman, this is dry. It is in the future, and we've done terrible things to the planet. And so now it is very, very dry. Water is the most precious commodity. Those that have it will do anything to protect it, and those who want it will do anything to get it. So again, it's in the future, and the future is pretty creepy. Now, bouncing back, let's talk about the past really quick. This is March, book 3. It is written by the late Congressman John Lewis. It is the story, the true story of his life as a civil rights activist who was with the Freedom Riders, marched for civil rights, was beaten and abused, but eventually not only stood up for many African Americans' rights, he becomes a congressman and continues to fight for civil rights for all in the Congress. This is a graphic novel. So if you're looking for something that has more than just words, it's incredible art in this book. It's won lots of awards. And again, it's part of a series. So if you like it, you can keep going. Let's talk about some realistic fiction. This is one of my all-time favorite authors, Jason Reynolds. He wrote All American Boys, and All American Boys is about 2 teammates. One is black, one is white. They are both in a party store one night, although they don't know the other one is there until a lady trips, her purse spills out in her groceries. The black kid goes to help her up, and the store owner thinks he's robbing her and calls the cops. The cops show up and ask very few questions before they drag the black kid out and beat him so badly he has to go to the hospital. The white teammate has seen it all from his hiding place, and he is stunned at what has happened, but he's also unsure what to do about it because the cop that did the beating is the older brother of his best friend, and this older brother cop has been like a substitute dad to this kid when his dad passed away. So it's the story of what happens to the kid who was beaten, but also what happens to the kid who saw it and has to decide how he's going to handle it. This is Long Way Down. This is one of Jason Reynolds' masterpieces. This is a novel in verse. So if you don't know what that is, it's very short chapters. It's written almost totally from the main character's point of view. So he's telling you the story. And this kid, Will, has just found out that his older brother, Sean, has been shot dead. And in their neighborhood, there's 3 rules: no crying, no snitching, and you get revenge no matter what. So Will has found his brother's gun and is leaving their apartment to get on the elevator to go down and out into the neighborhood to find the kid he believes shot his brother. And some very interesting things happen on that elevator ride. If you're looking for a fast read and an intense read, this is it. But at the end, you're going to have to decide for yourself what ultimately happened. That's Long Way Down. Couple of, let's shift to not so creepy. This is the one and only Ivan. If you're looking for a book that will warm your heart and make you happy inside and give you an uplift, this is it. It starts out very sad because Ivan is an elephant who is being kept for many, many, many years in a cement cage, a cement pen in a shopping mall where people walk by and look at him. Over the years, Ivan has learned how to draw and paint, and eventually he realizes when the mall owners bring in a young elephant who is not being treated very well, that he has to find some way to protect his now only friend. This is based on a true story. It is very sad, but I can tell you it turns out in an amazing way. Realistic fiction also is Hatchet. This is a classic. You can see this is a short, fast read about a kid who is on a small plane on his way to see his dad in Canada. When the plane crashes and the pilot is killed, he is left on his own. You may have heard of this book. It was so popular with kids that they begged the author to write more, and I think there's now 5 in the series. But this is the first one, Hatchet. You will turn every page and you will not be able to put it down. So if you want something that you're not going to read slowly, slowly, that has a lot of action and makes you think about how you'd survive in the wilderness, this is it. Another kind of survival is written about in The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. This is about Nazi concentration camp during World War II, but it's never quite specified that that's what's happening, because the book is written from the viewpoint of a boy who lives outside of the camp, who is not Jewish and is not does not have his life in danger, and how he meets a boy on the inside of the camp, what happens to them. Again, it's a quick read. It's very powerful. I should just mention that everything we're talking about here, these are all books intended for young adult audiences. So know that they are, some of them really harsh, and some of them have a lot of language and a lot of really intense feelings and experiences. But I think if you pick any of these, you'll be really happy with your choices. Good luck.